right, Curtis, congratulations on your comic book series, Beastlands.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So tell us about how this originated for you. What sparked the idea for Beastlands?
Yeah, Beastlands is a series that originally started on Kickstarter. We launched issue by issue. We're up to issue 7 on Kickstarter, but it's a kind of like a monster companion type story, kind of like Pokemon, Digimon, like lots of inspiration from that kind of stuff that I grew up with. And it's kind of like Pokemon meets Game of Thrones is a good way to pitch it. But it a more personal. I always try to put something personal into my stories, something that's meaningful for me. Otherwise, it's just like mindless entertainment. So it was back in like 2016. My dog was hit by a car and she survived, but it was a very traumatic experience where I had to carry her home in my arms. Thought she was dying at the time, but it took a lot of like extra care for the next 9 months or so for her recovery, and that was like the core of the story, is the inspiration of trying to like put that experience into a story and put that like human and pet bond as like the heart of the story.
Wow. So back in 2016, this actually happened. So when did the Kickstarter happen? Afterwards?
Yeah, we did the first Kickstarter probably 2019. So yeah, I was writing it for a while, and then I found my co-creator and the artist Joe back in like 2018. So we were working on it since like late 2018, and we did the first Kickstarter for issue 1 early 2019, and just have been doing them a couple times a year since then, up to issue 7 now on Kickstarter. We usually kickstart like 2 issues at once. Super fortunate. We've built up like a great following on there, and we get funded in a matter of hours. Just really lucky to do so well on there. Yeah.
So it started off as a Kickstarter, but now I understand what a major publisher is taking over.
Yeah, we're still going to be doing Kickstarters. It's a creator-owned deal we have with Dark Horse Comics. We're really excited. We've had this contract signed since like before the pandemic, so it's been quite a waiting game, just waiting for the release. They were waiting for us to finish issues 1 through 5, and then we needed a little time for marketing and all that. So we signed it a while ago, and it's a creator-owned deal. We own it all still, and we're still going to be kickstarting the single issues, and they have the deal for the trade paperback. Issues 1 through 5 comes out next month. Finally, almost there.
I was gonna say my notes said it's 5 issues, and you keep on saying 7 issues. So it's not the end,
No, it's not the end. We're already working on volume 2 on Kickstarter. No, I have some boxes behind me. I'm already shipping out the Kickstarter rewards for issues 6 and 7, and then we'll be back on Kickstarter with the next 2 issues after that. Volume 2 will be issues 6 through 10, and hopefully we can do more after that too. It's a fun series to make, so as long as Joe wants to keep drawing it, like I'm happy to keep working on it. I have lots of outlines for it.
I did read the first issue. It is fun to read, and I'm fascinated about this. These characters you actually created. Are you a fan of fantasy? Is that what's happening here?
Huge fan of fantasy. Yeah. I mean, all the stuff I write is pretty much primarily fantasy or sci-fi. It's always high concept. And I like weird fantasy worlds that don't overly explain the world building. You just kind of on a ride with the characters and kind of like discover it as you see their journey. Stuff like other comics like Step by Bloody Step. That's a current one that's amazing. Coda, Isola from Brendan Fletcher and Carl Kerschel, like that. Those kind of fantasy comics are very inspirational, and that's what I love. Yeah.
Tell us about the 3 teen characters that you created: Mac, Ava, and Ping.
Yeah.
They're all different, but they all complement each other. And why did you want to go with teenagers in this case?
Yeah, I just I wanted to go with that kind of angsty teenager age, even though this is a definitely a very serious like fantasy world where there's real dangers and real threats for these kids and thieves that are trying to rob them and hurt them. So they do curse and stuff. They're kind of like that high school age, and they're all very different. They're all flawed in their own ways, but they kind of complement each other where they need each other. And throughout the story, you kind of see them getting separated and trying to do stuff on their own. And it's only at the end when they start to reunite that they find success.
So you created 3 teens, but you only created 2 beasts, two keepers for them, Renzo and Luna. Why only 2? Why not 3?
That's another part of the world building already. So you see that not everybody has one of these beasts. It's only some people. And in this first volume, Mac's father kind of tells him in a flashback that keepers only come to somebody who's gone through a hardship. And then in volume 2, you hear like from a different perspective, a different part of the world where they say keepers, these beasts, we call them keepers, they only come to the brave and the strong. So it's kind of like this wise tale of why some people have them, why some people don't, like throughout the world. And it's just another part of world building to show you that you could go through life without having one of these beasts. Or if you do have one, it could get sick and die. Like these things aren't invincible. They're kind of like these real creatures that could get hurt or sick. And who knows, maybe Ping will get a beast in a future volume.
So how did you came up with the name Keepers rather than, Beast or Guardian or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I thought about for a while. It's a good question. I don't think anybody's asked me, but I thought about that for a while, just brainstorming ideas. And yeah, I wanted something original. Like you don't want to like. I just feel like Guardian is so it's so like readily used from other books and stories. So when I was just looking at probably synonyms with Guardian or some type of word like that, and then I saw Keeper, and then I just feel like it has a nice ring to it, almost like a like just I guess it just sounds better. Yeah, Keeper.
Now, did you had more main characters for these teens in mind, or you just narrowed it down to 3 originally?
Just these 3 are the ones I had in mind, but there's always going to be interesting side characters that they meet on their journey through these other parts of the world, and these side characters that are going to play like important parts in certain volumes, and they're going to have their own character arcs as well. But I always want to stick with just these 3 for the main.
Most excellent, because one of the things that while I was looking at it, I don't know why I like to look at fantasy maps. It's just the cartography is always interesting to see what left of the unexplored world that you may, out of your imagination. And when I first heard it was 5 issue, I was like going, wait a minute, but there's like 7, 8 kingdoms on this map. Could you tell us about this world that you created?
Yeah, that was I'm as a huge fantasy nerd, like I love when books have maps. So obviously that was one of like our Kickstarter rewards. I think for issues 4 and 5, we got to make a map and we printed it on like this nice like textured paper and stuff went out to our Kickstarter backers. And it was cool. Like that was one of the most fun things I got to work on was coming up with all these names and working with this amazing cartographer that drew up like that beautiful map. And yeah, like I have probably like 5 volumes outlined for the series, so I'm just like thinking about these other parts of the world that are in my imagination, that where they're going to go to. So actually like getting to see where that is on a map and kind of imagining their journey through this world and where they'll end up by like the end of the story for by like volume 5, if we get to that. It's just cool to see. Like that's probably the most fun part of writing stories, is that fun world building part.
So how many kingdoms do the 3 visit in the first 5 issues themselves?
They're just staying around that first kingdom, the Kingdom of Griff. In volume 2, they'll go up to the Kingdom of Letharda, and they're kind of there's kind of a little bit of like a war and conflict between those 2 kingdoms. And then after that, they'll make a journey to through the Scar's Mouth Sea to the Forsaken Lands, and they just keep going throughout the world from that. Like every volume is kind of like a new part of the world.
And you already have pages and pages of outlines of these different kingdoms that you already have. So in reality, some of these kingdoms are still unwritten in your head.
Yeah, some of it's still unwritten, and but I definitely have ideas for like all of the volumes on where they would be and what's happening. And that's what I love about world building, and kind of like it's not going to be like an exposition dump where you just learn about this part of the world. Like you're kind of discovering it with these kids and seeing that in different parts of these worlds, maybe they treat keepers different. Like right now, obviously there's this tyrannical king who's trying to execute all the beasts after an accident with his daughter, but in a different part of the world, maybe they treat these keepers as gods and they think it's wrong to ride them or to put your gear on them. I just think there's so much interesting ways you can go about this.
Now, of course, being a fantasy world, people always think about magic, and I only seen read the first issue, which there's like healing elements, but I'm not quite sure if there was magic in your world.
No, that was just kind of like a potion or plant that Ping had. There's no magic though. Like that's like I think it's important to make world building rules. And as much as I love Pokemon more as much as anyone else, like I wanted to make something original and these are real world beasts that that could die or get sick, and they have these like fantasy elements that we mix together. Like the main keeper Renzo, he's kind of got these like fangs, but he obviously looks like a wolf base. And the other one, Luna, has these like horns and wings. So we try to take these like elements from real world animals and mix them into one to kind of give it that fantastical look. But yeah, they don't have any magic or elemental abilities. That's a rule that it's hard to stick to because as cool and as fun as that would be to like have lightning shooting out and stuff. I wanted to make this feel like a more grounded medieval world.
So in 2018, you met up with Joe to create this fantastical world of Beastlands. Could you tell us about the variations of how many variations of these beasts you actually try to come up with? I'm pretty sure you guys had weeks and months of trying to figure this all out. And
for sure. Yeah, we were definitely doing lots of sketching and character designs before we ever got into the pages. And those first two beasts, Renzo and Luna, the main characters, keepers, those were very important to get the look right. So I gave her all my ideas, and we kind of like talked about those rules. Like they're about full grown, they're going to be about the size of a horse. They're going to be mountable. They're going to have a saddle and like, their sleeping gear on there, all of their gear on their beast. And yeah, I mean, she's just amazing. So she's a great artist. So once I gave her ideas, she would just come back with like perfect, almost like she was like in my head getting it out. So nowadays, like there's obviously a lot of other beasts. So sometimes like I won't go as in depth. Like I'll give like ideas in the script and stuff, and she usually nails it. Like volume 2, you get to see some like bug beasts and stuff. But as long as we stick to those rules where full grown, they might be the size of like a horse, they have a saddle on them, no magical abilities and stuff, and we're kind of like mixing these real world creature and animal bases to make something that looks kind of fantastical.
And it seems like you worked very well with Joe on on these sketches, on these drawings and stuff, because I mean, how else did you communicate with Joe with these beasts and even the characters themselves?
She's based out of South Korea, so like English is not even her first language. We just communicate through email, so it's been an interesting process working with her. And I'll give her my descriptions, and then she sends it back. And we've really refined our like working relationship over, we've been working together since late 2018, so it's been a good number of years now, where like I rarely have to give her notes on any pages or anything. Like I give her the script, she comes back with thumbnails. It's like I already know it's going to be perfect. Like rarely will I have to change anything. She gets a line work, she does the coloring. It's just fun. Like it's a treat every day getting to see her art come into my inbox.
That's amazing communication. Do you speak Korean, or you do?
I do not. No. I mean, luckily she her English is good, so I mean, luckily that we can communicate well, and then obviously she could like translate emails if she ever has to. But I mean, to me it feels like I'm talking to somebody who speaks English like fluently. So like I mean, luckily she's good enough that she knows both languages.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. So right now, when is the first issues going to be released in comic book stores?
Yeah, so they're just doing the full trade paperback of issues 1 through 5. So that will be in comic shops on June 15th. Beastlands, Keepers of the Kingdom. That's issues 1 through 5 in a trade. And then it'll be on Amazon and bookstores on June 28th. So a couple weeks early in comic shops. It's already available for pre-order at comic shops or Amazon or any other bookstore.
That is amazing. I can't wait to see what's more out of your Beastlands series here. It's great. But one more thing before I let you go, was it hard to make the rule that these beasts don't like telepathically or speak to these characters?
Yeah, no, that's something I want to explore in a future volume too. But no, that's hard. Like obviously it'd be something so cool if they could just talk to their beasts. But then again, like I look at my dog a lot, who's right next to me, and like I wish I could talk to her, but you can't. So you're kind of like looking at their eyes, looking at their emotions, and you can kind of communicate with them like without that verbal language, I feel like. So it's hard, but it's these rules that you have to stick with to keep it grounded.
Well, Curtis, you develop a very interesting world here, and people are going to love it. Curtis, thank you very much for speaking to us about Beastlands. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get to do this again as more and more of your issues are released.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.